my dear friends and fellows, my dear teachers, and my dear students. This is Naim Irshad. For the love of physics, I am back here again on my YouTube channel, The Rajput Orchards. Due to some personal reasons, I was not available in the last few months, but now, due to your exams, I am available here. In my today's video, I shall present in front of you, whom I always used to say, I shall give you 100 questions from both the classes, class 9th and 10th. I always used to say these words, these phrases in front of my students of class 9th and class 10th. But in this video, I shall give you all the questions. I shall present in front of you all the questions, whether you are from class 9th or you are from class 10th. In the two different videos, I shall present in front of you the class 9th 100 questions and the class 10th 100 important questions, or you can say the guest papers of class 9th and class 10th. Hope so. The board examiner will ask you questions from these 100 questions. If you are interested in this video, please like this video, subscribe my YouTube channel, and please share this video in your circle. Hi, dear friends and fellows, my dear students, my dear teachers. This is Naim Irshad. For the love of physics, I am back here again on my YouTube channel. As I already told you about the purpose of this video, I shall present in front of you the 100 questions. Let's start this debate. Let's start write down the 100 questions in front of you. I shall start it from chapter number 1. Okay, have a look. Please note down all these questions. They will help you a lot in your exams. I shall start it from chapter number 1. The very first question is, what is meant by physics? What is meant by physics? This is the very first question. The remaining 99 questions there. The next question is, what is the difference between nuclear and plasma physics? The next question is, what is the difference between atomic and geophysics? Please note on all these questions. The fourth question is, what is the difference between base and derived quantities? What is the difference between base and derived quantities? The fifth question is, what is meant by physical quantities? What is meant by physical quantities? The very next question is, what is the difference between base units and derived units? Question number 6. What is the difference between base units and derived units? The very next question is what is meant by prefixes? What is meant by prefixes? The next question is what is meant by scientific notation? You can add this question here with prefixes, but I shall write it down this question separately. What is meant by scientific notation? What is meant by scientific notation? The next question is what are the rules for scientific notation? The examiner can ask you the question, explain any 2 rules, any 3 rules, or any 4 rules of scientific notation. So have a question, write it down here. What are the rules for scientific notation? What are the rules for scientific notation? Or what are the rules for significant figure? Sorry, I have to write it down here. Significant figure. What are the rules for significant figure? The next question is the very important question. Estimate your age in seconds. Estimate your age in seconds. Estimate your age in seconds. The examiner can ask you, you are 15 years old. Estimate your age in estimate your 15 years of age in seconds, or 16 years of age in seconds, or your age in seconds. Doesn't matter. The next question is what is meant by Vernier constant? Vernier constant. And the very last question from this chapter is what is meant by least count? So we have almost 12 questions from this chapter. Now what is meant by least count? What is meant by least count? Okay. Out of 100, I present 12 questions. I mentioned 10 questions. I write it down. 12 questions in front of you. I shall present the remaining 88 questions from the remaining 8 chapters of your book in the next. Okay, as I present 12 questions in front of you from chapter number 1. Now I shall present in front of you the next 12 questions from chapter number 2 here. So write it down, these questions too, on your notebooks. Meant by rest and motion. What is meant by rest and motion? The 14th question is what is meant by random and rotatory motion. These are the types of basically. One of them is the type of. These are the types of motion. You can see these both are the types of motion. What is the difference between random motion and rotatory motion? What is the difference between random motion and rotatory motion? Okay, the next question is what is meant by linear motion, and we can add one more question with this question, like vibratory motion. What is meant by linear motion and vibratory motion? Linear motion and vibratory motion. The next question, the most important question from this chapter, what is the difference between scalars and vectors? What is the difference between scalars and vectors? The next question is, what is meant by lidar gun? What is meant by lidar gun? The next question is, what is the difference between distance and displacement? What is the difference between distance and displacement? The next question is, what is the difference between speed, velocity, and acceleration? Speed, velocity, and acceleration. The next question is, what is the difference between uniform velocity and uniform acceleration? I shall change my board marker here from blue to black. What is the difference? What is the difference between uniform velocity and uniform acceleration? Uniform acceleration. Next question is, what is meant by terminal velocity? Important question. What is meant by terminal velocity? What is meant by terminal velocity? This is the question number 9 from this chapter, and question number 21 from our 100 question series. The next question is, can a moving body moving at a constant speed have acceleration? Can a body moving at a constant speed have acceleration? I shall have. Let's have a look. Can a moving body or can a body moving with, I have to read it. There is my duster. Can a body moving with constant speed have acceleration? Okay. The next question is, how the vectors are represented graphically? How the vectors are represented graphically? How vectors are represented graphically? The 11th question from this chapter, the last question, is basically a conversion of meter per second into kilometer per hour. You must have somehow a look onto it in the evening section are in the morning section. One of the question we must ask you from you guys. Let's have a look on this question too. Convert 72 kilometer per hour into meter per second. Okay, uh, we are done. Sorry, my dear boys and girls, as you are facing somehow video quality problems in the sound, but we are trying to have somehow a recovery in our sound quality. Now I shall present in front of you the chapter 3 questions. Let's have a look. The very first question from chapter number 3 is, what is the difference between inertia and law of inertia? Some people have a confusion between inertia and law of inertia, like both of these are the same things, but these are not the same things in actual. So, law of inertia is also known as the first law of motion. I shall write it down here. This question: what is the difference between inertia and law of inertia? Okay. The next question is, what is the difference between force and momentum? What is the difference between force and momentum? The next question is like, what is Newton's the next question is like, what is Newton's second law? Also, you can have a question like, prove that F is equal to ma. Okay, what is Newton's second law? The next question is, what is meant by Newton's third law? What is meant by Newton's third law? The next question is, what is the difference between mass and weight? The very important question. What is the difference between mass and weight? The next question is like, what is meant by the law of conservation of momentum? What is meant by law of conservation of momentum? The next question is like, what are the advantages and disadvantages of friction? What are the advantages and disadvantages of friction? You have a question like, what are the methods to reduce friction? From this topic, you have a question like, what is meant by friction and coefficient of friction? What is meant by friction and coefficient of friction? What is meant by friction and coefficient of friction? You can have a question like why the rolling friction is always less than the sliding friction. Why rolling friction is less than sliding friction. Uh, you can have a question like what is the difference between centripetal force and centrifugal force? Important question. What is the difference between centripetal and centrifugal force? What is the difference between centripetal and centrifugal force? The next question should be you have to check it out. What is the difference between braking and skidding? What is braking and skidding? And the last question from this chapter should be like what are the advantages of banking of road? This is the last question from this chapter. We have 13 questions from this chapter so far. What are the advantages of banking of road? Banking of road. We are done here with 37 questions from the first 3 chapters here. Okay, dear, my dear boys and girls, as we are already done with 37 questions from the first 3 chapters here, we have in next question series from the chapter number 4 here. Like the very first question from the chapter number 4 is like, what is the difference between like and unlike parallel forces? What is the difference between like and unlike parallel forces? The next question is like, what is the difference between torque and coupling? What is the difference between torque and couple? The next question is like, what is moment arm and of rotation? What is moment arm and axis of rotation? The next question should be like, what is meant by principle of movement? What is principle of movement? The next question should be like, what are the types of equilibrium? Please explain it. You have to define all these types like stable, unstable, and neutral equilibrium. I shall write it down this question just like that. What stable, unstable, and neutral equilibrium. The next question should be like, define the first and second condition of equilibrium. Define first and second condition of equilibrium. The next question should be like, what is meant by a rigid body? You can have a question like, what is meant by rigid body? What is meant by rigid body? You can have a question like, why the vehicles made heavy at its bottom? You can have a question like this. Why the vehicles are made heavy at its bottom? Why the vehicles are made heavy at its bottom? Okay, as we are already done with 2, 4, 6, 8 questions from this chapter 4. Some more questions from this chapter, like what is meant by resultant vector, and you can have a question like, I have to think about it. What is meant by resultant vector and resolution of forces? You can have a question like this too. What is meant by resultant vector and resolution of forces? Okay, we are here with 46 questions. We have remaining 54 questions. Okay, the next question should be like, why the height of vehicles is kept very low? This question was, why the vehicles are made heavy at its bottom. You can have a question like, why the height of vehicles is kept low. Why the height of vehicles is kept low? You can have a question like this too. Why the height of vehicles is kept low? Why the height of vehicles is kept low? Okay. You can have a question like, what is the difference between center of mass and center of gravity? What is the difference between center of mass and center of gravity? What is the difference between center of mass and center of gravity? And the last question we can have from this chapter is, what is meant by plumb line? What is meant by plumb line? Okay, we are here with 12 questions from this chapter 2. We are done with 49 questions. We have remaining 51 questions from the remaining 5 chapters. Okay. Hi again. You may have a question in your mind, why I use high and high words again and again after the very short interval of times. Like when I start chapter number 1, I say hi. Chapter 2, I say hi. Chapter 3, I state hi. The reason behind is that I have to take some sort of rest after making a short video of each chapter. So while continuing restarting my work, I always used to say hi. So have a look on chapter number 5. The very first question from chapter number 5 is like that, what is the law of gravitation? The very important question, what is the law of gravitation? What is law of gravitation? Okay. The next question is that, like, what is meant by satellite and artificial satellite? What is meant by and artificial satellite. Okay. The next question should be like, what is GPS system? The very important question from this chapter. What is GPS system? What is GPS system? Or simply you can say, what is GPS? Because in the word GPS you already have global positioning system. You can never have a global positioning system. If you are using the word GPS system, you have like a word global positioning system. You have to use the word system once. The question should be like, what is GPS? The next question is like, why we cannot feel gravitational force? Why we cannot feel gravitational force? Why we can't feel force? Okay. Okay. The next question is like, what is meant by gravitational field strength and field force? What is gravitational field strength and field force? Okay. You can have a question like, what is meant by force of gravitation, and you can have simply a question like, what is meant by force of gravitation and total velocity? What is force of gravitation in simple? What is force of gravitation? Okay. You can have a question like, we are done with gravitational field strength or not? We are done with it. Okay. The next question is like the very important question. Calculate power 24 kilograms. Calculate the mass of Earth. Calculate mass of Earth. Okay. The next question is like, on what factors or speed of satellite depends? On what factors orbital speed of satellite depends? On what factors orbital speed of satellite depends? Okay. The next question, we're done with GPS, geostationary, law of gravitation. I have to check it out. Important question is that, like, why the value of G varies from place to place? That is important question too. Why the value of G? Why the value of G varies from place to place? Varies from place to place. Okay. The next question should be like, why the value of G decreases with altitude or increases as you are coming towards the Earth. As you're coming towards the Earth, the value of G increases. As you are moving in the upward direction, or simply you can say, as you are moving downward, the value of G increases. As you are moving inward, okay, so the value of G always decreases. Why? The value of G decreases with altitude. Why? Value of G decreases with altitude. Okay. We are done here with 10 questions from this chapter. question from this chapter. Why we cannot feel gravitational force between the bodies around us? We have some bodies like this board marker. The gravitational force is acting on this body too. But why we are not able to have a look? Why we are not able to see the force, gravitational force that is acting on this body? This is the weakest force. As we have four fundamental forces in the nature, like strong nuclear force, weak nuclear force, we have electromagnetic force, we have gravitational force. Gravitational force is the weakest force in the universe. So we have a question like this: why we cannot feel gravitational force between the bodies around? See here, why we cannot feel gravitational force between the bodies around us? Why we cannot feel gravitational force between the bodies around us? Between bodies around us. Okay, we are done here with 60 questions from 5 chapters. We have 40 questions remaining and 4 chapters remaining. Okay guys, as you are already done with 60 questions from the 5 chapters here, we have almost 40. So note it down the remaining 40 questions here. This is chapter number 6 here, and we are here with question number 61 here. This question is like, what is meant by work? State its unit, or simply you can have a question like, what is meant by work and joule? Joule. The word is not joule. This word is joule. What is meant by work? And joule. Okay. The next question should be like, what is meant by mechanical energy, sound energy, okay, and light energy? I can have these 3 questions. I want to sum up these 3 questions in just one question. What is mechanical, sound, and light energy? Okay, this is question number 62. What is mechanical, light, and sound energy? Okay. The next question should be like, what is geothermal, and you can have a question, what is geothermal and biomass energy? Okay, this is question number 63. What is geothermal and biomass? Okay, the next question should be like, what sort of informations and details you have about the famous Einstein's energy mass equation, like E is equal to mc square? How can you elaborate E is equal to mc square? 64th question is like, explain Einstein's energy mass equation, or E is equal to mc square. E is equal to mc square. Simplest question. The next question should be like, what is meant by solar cell and soil erosion? These are two different questions. But I want to sum up these 2 questions. You can have a question like, what is solar cell simply, and soil erosion. Okay, simple as that. The next question should be like, what is meant by efficiency, and Hooke's, what is meant by efficiency? Okay, simple. What is efficiency? Efficiency. Okay, we are done here with 6 questions from this chapter. I want to look. Okay, what is meant by kinetic energy and potential energy? what is meant by kinetic energy and kinetic and potential energy. Simple. We are done here with 7 questions. What are the disadvantages of fossil fuels? Or okay, what are the disadvantages? What are of fossil fuels? We are done here with 8 questions from this chapter and 68 in our from our series. The remaining questions should be like what is power and watt? Power, the unit of power is watt. So you can have a question like what is meant by power? State its unit, or what is power and watt? 69th question. What is power and watt? Okay. The next question should be like strain. The last question from this chapter. What is Hooke's law? Also define stress and strain. I want to have one more question from this chapter like why the fossil fuels are known as non-renewable sources of energy. Why? I shall write it down these 2 questions now. And 71 is here. What is Hooke's law? State stress and strain. Stress and strain. Why fossil fuels are called non-renewable sources of energy. As we are here done with 11 questions from chapter number 6 and we have remaining 29 questions and 3 chapters. Okay, we are done here with 70 questions from first 6 chapters. Now we have 29 questions that we shall discuss in the part B of this video. In the first part, we have 71 questions, 6 chapters. Right now the time is 2 a.m. I have to move towards Lahore exactly 2 hours later. I have to sleep right now. We shall discuss the next 29 questions, the part B of this video, in next week. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.